review of the exercises that we did in the Abs 101 workshop. So we're going to start seated and do a little bit of breathing. Remember that if you need to sit on something, I would encourage you to do so. I'm going to sit tall and then roll forward. Breathing into your back, a deep inhale through the nose. Exhaling out through pursed lips to feel your low abs engaging, creating a kind of compression around your waistband. Keep that compression as you stack your spine back up again. And then again, peeling the spine down one vertebra at a time, folding towards the knees. Taking a deep umbrella breath, that sense of the rib cage expanding, even as the low belly stays contracted in. Stacking back up again. That way you're not taking a big deep belly breath each time you inhale, thus leaving your back unsupported. Then come into, again, a comfortable seated position. As a reminder, having something underneath your sits bones, sitting on something can help alleviate low back pain or hip tension if that's an issue for you. Engaging the pelvic floor, that basket of musculature between your sits bones, your pubic bone, your tailbone. As you sit here and breathe, gently engaging the pelvic floor and then relaxing it. Thinking about right to left balance, front to back balance. And then engaging the pelvic floor at about a 30% level, recognizing that if you engage it too much, it'll cause gripping throughout your entire body. We're then going to come down, lay on your back, and do a couple of pelvic rocks. So we're exhaling to scoop the low belly into imprint, and then inhaling to let the pelvis rock towards neutral. Just back and forth there. Again, keeping the pelvic floor working at about that 30% level. Deep exhale through pursed lips to help activate the obliques. And then as you go back through neutral, pubic bone and hip bones are all about on the same plane. However, that doesn't mean that you're arching the ribs off the floor. And then scooping the low tummy in to rock the pubic bone towards the navel. Then you can start to challenge this a little bit more by lifting one or both legs up tabletop, keeping in mind that you want to sustain that work in your pelvic floor and also with your breath as you sustain the legs up. You don't necessarily need to move on to both legs coming up tabletop unless it feels appropriate for you. We could then add a little bit of isometric pressure. So you could rest both hands to your knee or just keep that one leg up. And in this instance, with my right leg lifted tabletop, I could push my left hand to the inside of my right knee, creating compression between those two components to again engage the obliques. You could try that on the other side. Or again, both legs up tabletop, pressing the hands against the thighs or pressing the hands to the insides of the knees and pushing there. And we'll come around onto all fours. Again, working with one of the principles from the workshop, isometrics. Squeezing the space between the arms and the thighs as if there's a big beach ball between arms and thighs. Try not to flex the spine at all when you do that. And then experimenting with taking a limb out to the side, back, or forward. You could do the same thing by extending a leg back. And as you do this, you're trying not to rock your torso from side to side. Keep the torso nice and steady. Much more challenging position here if you wish. Turn the toes underneath, the knees are together, hovering the knees up off the floor about an inch, still maintaining that isometric squeeze, and then again trying to lift a leg one at a time. But again, remember that as you add on more challenge, you want to keep the fundamentals of the breath and the pelvic floor in play. You can switch that position around, coming onto your back, working from imprint or neutral. lifting the legs up tabletop, taking the arms to the ceiling, imagining again that you've got that big beach ball between arms and thighs, you're trying to pop it. And then you could add on a little bit, tapping one foot at a time down towards the floor, still maintaining that isometric pressure. Returning the feet to the floor, hands behind the head, working as close to neutral as you feel comfortable with, and then exhaling, coming into an ab curl. Sliding the ribs towards the hips, trying not to tip the pelvis or smush the low back, and then returning back down again. Working with your breath, this is a really ideal place to notice if you're pushing your abs out. Try to contract them inwards. Returning back down. We can again add on to the challenge here by imprinting, lifting the legs up tabletop, curling up again, and extending the legs out. Again, remember though that you don't want to add on unless you feel confident in the basic principles. And then come up, and we're going into the half roll back. There's multiple different ways to do this. First way is to bring the hands to the backs of the knees, roll off the sits bones as if creating a letter C with your spine, and then coming back up again. You could add a lot more challenge by pressing the heels of the hands against the thighs. Again, that isometric pressure. If you have a ball or a pillow to work with, you could place that behind you, and that could be really helpful as you start to increase the challenge, but you're not really ready to do it without any help behind you. Hands can come behind the head, going into the obliques. Keeping in mind that cueing of wringing out the wet towel. So as an example, as I twist to the left, there's a sense here of my obliques or my abdominal wall actually twisting to the right, okay, as I twist to the left. So the abs are kind of twisting in the opposite direction than you're actually going. You could also take a ball or pillow between your knees to activate the inner thighs, release some of the pressure in the hip flexors. The exercise is the same, rotating from side to side. Here again, we could add isometric pressure by pushing both hands or one hand to the thigh. Moving into the rollover, you can do this without any props at all. Modification, just a little tiny curl. If you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, you're not going to want to do this particular version of the rollover. Okay, I have another option for you here in just a moment. Otherwise, you can go fully into the rollover and then slowly rolling back down again. To increase the challenge, pressing the hands against the thighs, again, that isometric connection. Very difficult, and it was definitely going to limit your range of motion. For those of you who have osteoporosis, osteopenia, or have SI issues, I would definitely recommend doing this exercise with the foam roller underneath, and then doing just little tiny curls. The application of pushing the arms into the roller is going to help you to access your abs in a deeper way. You don't necessarily have to come out of these exercises the way that I do, okay? Take your time, go slow. So we're going to come now into our last exercise, spinal extension. Legs are turned out about shoulder distance apart. You've got your glute abs sandwich on. Hands are shoulder distance apart and slightly forward. And then gradually start to lengthen your spine out, pushing yourself up as high as you feel comfortable going. Keeping in mind as you go up and down that your abs are compressing inwards, even as they are also stretching. And so you want to learn how to use your abs in both ways. And then we'll come back into child's pose. Enjoy!